Now, fair Hippolyta, our nuptial hour draws on apace. 4 happy days brings in another moon. But oh, methinks how slow this old moon wanes.
4 days will quickly steep themselves in night. 4 nights will quickly dream away the time. And then the moon, like a silver bow bent unto heaven, shall behold the night of our solemnities.
Go, Philostrate, stir up the Italian youth to merriments. Awake the pert nimble spirits of birth. Turn melancholy forth to funerals. The pale companion is not for our palm. Hippolyta, I wooed thee with my sword, and won thy love during the entries, but I will wed thee in another key, with pomp, triumph, and with revelry.
Happy be Theseus, our renowned Duke.
Thanks, good Aegis. What's the news with thee?
Full of vexation come I with complaint against my child, my daughter Hermia. Stand forth, Demetrius. This man hath my consent to marry with her. Stand forth, Lysander. This man hath bewitched the bosom of my child. Thou Lysander, thou hast interchanged love tokens with my child, and by moonlight at her window sung with feigning voice verses of feigning love, and stolen away the impressions of her fantasy, with harebrained God's conceits. With cunning, thou hast filched my daughter's heart, which is due to me, stubborn harshness. And, my gracious Duke, if she does not consent to marry with Demetrius, here before your grace, I beg the ancient law of Brooklyn, and she is mine, I may dispose of her. Will duly be to this gentleman, or to her death, according to our law immediately provided in that case.
What say you, Hermia? Be advised, fair maid. To you your father should be as a god, one that composed your beauty, the one to whom you are but as a form in wax. By him imprinted, and within his power to leave the figure or disfigure. Demetrius is a worthy gentleman.
So is Lysander.
In himself he is, but in this kind, wanting your father's voice, the other must be held unworthy.
I would my father look but with my eyes.
Rather, your eyes must with his judgment look.
I do entreat your grace to pardon me, for I know not by what power I made bold, nor how it may concern my modesty in such a presence here to plead my thoughts. But I beseech your grace, that I may know the worst that may befall me in this case, if I refuse to wed Demetrius.
Either to die to death, or to endure forever the society of man. Therefore, fair Hermia, question your desire, whether you can endure the library of a nun, to live a barren sister for the rest of your life, chanting frantic hymns to the cold, fruitless moon.
So will I grow, so live, so die, my lord, ere I will yield my virgin patent up unto his lordship, whose unwished yoke my soul contends to give sovereignty.
Take time to pause, and by the next new moon, the sealing day betwixt my love and me, holy matrimony, upon that day you prepare to die for disobedience to your father's will, or else to wed Demetrius as he would. Or else I die at his altar to protest for austerity and a single life.
My sweet Hermia, and Lysander, yield thy praised title to my certain right.
You have her father's love, Demetrius. Let me have Hermia's. Do you marry him?
Scornful Lysander, true he hath my love, and what is mine I render him, and she is mine, and all my right of her I do estate unto Demetrius.
Pardon, my lord. I'm as well possessed and was well derived as he. Demetrius made love to Neater's daughter, and won her soul, and she, sweet lady, dotes, devoutly dotes in idolatry, upon the spotted and inconsistent man.
I must confess that I have heard so much. And being overfull of self-affairs, my mind doth lose it. Demetrius, come, and come, Aegis, for I have some private schooling for you both. And you, Hermia, look you arm yourself to fit your fancies to your father's will. Come, Hippolyta. But cheer, my love. Demetrius, Aegis, go along.
With duty and desire we follow you.
How now, my love? Why is your cheek so pale? How chanced do the roses fade so fast?
Belike for want of rain, which I could well beteem them from the tempest of my eyes.
The course of true love never did run smooth. Hear me, Hermia. I have a widow aunt, a dowager, of great revenue. She hath no child, and remote her house Brooklyn 7 leagues. She respects me as her only son. There, gentle Hermia, may I marry thee. And to that place of Brooklyn, the sharp Brooklyn law cannot pursue us. So if thou lovest me, steal forth thy father's house tomorrow night, and meet me in the wood, a league without a town, where I did meet thee once with Helena to deserve the morn of May. There I will marry thee.
Oh, my good Lysander, I swear to thee by Cupid's strongest bow, by his best arrow with the golden edge, by all the vows that e'er men have broke, in number more than ever women spoke. In that same place thou hast appointed me, tomorrow I will truly meet with thee.
Keep promise, love. Look, here comes Helena.
Godspeed, fair Helena, whither away?
Call you me fair? Fair again, I say. Demetrius loves your fair. Oh, happy fair. Your eyes are lodestars, and your tongue sweet air, more tunable to lark than shepherd's ear. When wheat is green, when hawthorn buds appear. Sickness is catching. Oh, were favor so yours would I catch, fair Hermia, ere I go. My ear should catch your voice, my eye your eye, my tongue should catch your tongue's sweet melody. Were the world mine, Demetrius being baited, the rest I'll give to be to you translated. Oh, teach me how you look, and with what art you sway the motion of Demetrius's heart.
I frown upon him, yet he loves me still.
Oh, that your frowns could teach my smile such skill.
I give him curses, yet he gives me love.
Oh, that my prayers could such affection move.
The more I hate, the more he follows me.
The more I love, the more he hateth me.
His folly, Helena, is no fault of mine.
None but your beauty, would that fault were mine.
Take comfort. He no more shall see my face. Lysander and myself shall fly this place. Before the time I did see Brooklyn as a paradise to me. But in that wood whereof he doth dwell, he hath turned heaven unto a hell.
Helen, to your minds we unfold. Tomorrow night in thee doth behold the silver visage and watery glass, decking with pearl the blade of grass. Time that lover still doth conceal, the Brooklyn's gates we devise to steal.
And in the wood, where oft you and I, a fond primrose would once lie, emptying our bosoms in their council sweet, there Lysander and myself shall meet. And thence from Brooklyn turn away our eyes, to seek new friends and stranger companies. Oh, farewell, sweet playfellow, pray thou for us, and good luck to grant thee thy Demetrius. Come and shield Lysander, if they be afraid, for lovers' food, tomorrow, deep in night.
I will, my Hermia, Helena do, as you on him Demetrius stowed unto you.
How happy some, or other some can be. Through Brooklyn I am thought as fair as she. What of that? Demetrius thinks not so. He will not know what all but he do know. And as he errs, doting on Hermia's eye, so I, admiring of his qualities. Things base and vile hold no quantity. Love can transpose to form and dignity. Love looks not with the eyes, but with the mind, and therefore is winged Cupid painted blind. Nor hath love's mind any judgment taste, wings and no eyes, figure unheedy haste. And therefore is love said to be a child, because in choice he is so often beguiled. As waggish boys in game themselves forswear, so the boy love is perjured everywhere. For ere Demetrius looked on Hermia's eyne, he hailed down oaths that he was only mine. But when this hail some heat from Hermia felt, so he dissolved, and showers of oaths did melt. I will go tell him of fair Hermia's flight, and then to the wood will he tomorrow night pursue her. And for this intelligence, if I have thanks, is a dear expense. But herein mean I to enrich my pain, to have his sight thither and back again.
Did you stop it?
No.
Is all our company here?
You were best to call them generally, man by man, according to the script.
This is the scroll of every man's name, which is thought fit throughout all Brooklyn to play in our interlude before the kingpin of his balls on his wedding day at night.
First, good Peter Quince, say what the play treats on. Then read the name of the actors, and so grow to a point.
Mary, our play is the most lamentable comedy and most cruel death of Pyramus and Thisbe.
A very good piece of work, I assure you, and a merry. Now, the Peter Quinns, call forth your actors. Masters, spread yourselves.
Answers I call you. Nick Bottom the Weaver.
Ready. Name what part I am for and proceed.
You, Nick Bottom, are set down for Pyramus.
What is Pyramus? A lover or a tyrant?
A lover who kills himself most gallant for love.
That will call for some tears in the true performance of it. If I do, let the audience look to their eyes. I will move storms. I will condole in such a measure, but yet my chief humor is for a tyrant. I can play Hercules rarely, or a part to tear a cat in two. Oh, raging rocks and shivering shocks shall break the locks of prison gates. And Phoebus' car shall shine from far, and make him all a foolish face. This was Loki. Now name the rest of your players. This is Hercules' name, the tyrant's name. The lover's more condoling.
Francis Flute the bellows mender. Flute, you must take Thisbe on you.
What is Thisbe? Wandering knight?
It is the lady that Pyramus must love.
Faith, let me not play a lover. I have nothing to wear.
That's all one. You shall play it in a mask, and you may speak as small as you will.
And let me hide my face too. Let me play Thisbe. I will speak in a monstrous little voice. Thisbe. Oh, Pyramus.
No. You must play Pyramus and Flute you Thisbe.
Well, proceed.
Robin Startling the tailor. I'm here. Robin Startling, you must play Thisbe's mother. Tom Snout the tinker.
Oh, here, Peter Quince.
You, Pyramus's father. Myself, Thisbe's father. Snug the joiner. Snug, you the lion's part, and I hope here's a play fitted.
Let me play the lion too. I will roar, then I'll make the godfather say, let him roar again, let him roar again.
And you should do it too terribly.
Have you the lion's part righted? Pray you, if it be, give it me, for I am so steady.
You may do next the part, for it is nothing but roaring.
Please, let me play the lion.
You have afraid the duchess and the ladies. That they would shriek, and that were enough to hang us all.
That would hang us, everyone would die.
I grant you, friends. If you should frighten ladies out of their wits, they would have no more discretion but to hang us. But I will aggravate my voice, that I will roar as any sucking dove. I will roar as twirling nightingale.
You can play no part but Pyramus. For Pyramus is a sweet-faced man, a proper man as one shall see in a summer's day. Therefore you must needs play Pyramus.
Well, I will undertake it. What beard do I best to play it in?
Why, what you will.
I will discharge it in either your orange tawny beard, your purple and green beard, your French crown color beard, or your orange tawny beard.
Some of your French crowns have no hair at all. Then you play barefaced. But masters, here are your parts. And I am to request you, entreat you, and desire you to come by tomorrow night to meet me in the Palace Wood, a mile without the town. By moonlight, there we shall rehearse.
There we will meet and rehearse most obscenely and most courageously. Take pains, be perfect. Adieu.
At Ivywood Park we meet.
Enough! Hold or cut both strings.